afternoon and hello and welcome to Afternoon Tea with an Ambassador. I'm Liu Xin from CGTN. I'm in the capital city of Hunan Province in central China. The city is called Changsha, and I'm in the main exhibition hall of the second China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo. Today we have a very interesting topic with the ambassador from one of our featured African countries, which is Rwanda. They have something very special for the people of Hunan and elsewhere in China. And this year also marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Rwanda. So I'm so excited to get going. Let's go. And first of all, let me say hi to my guests here in Changsha. To my right, my colleague.
Hi, Liu Xin. I'm Huang. I'm enjoying time with the ambassador. It's my great honor.
So Mr. Huang Cheng was a former CCTV correspondent to Africa. To my left is a guest from Rwanda.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Nsengiyumva Alain. I'm from Rwanda, as she said. I'm currently studying here in China, International Trade and Economics in Central South University of Forestry and Technology. Thank you.
Central South University of Forestry and Technology. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much.
And of course, we have our distinguished ambassador joining us from Beijing, Ambassador James Kimonyo of Rwanda to Beijing. Ambassador, how are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Liu. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us a bit exactly where you are at this moment.
Hello, thank you. First of all, let me say good afternoon to our viewers. My name is James Kimonyo. I'm the ambassador of Rwanda to the People's Republic of China. I'm now in Beijing at our offices.
The warmest welcome and thank you very much for doing this with us. So today we are going to introduce the country of Rwanda and especially the products from Rwanda. The complete dry chili, it has a very nice fragrant.
Yeah.
But I imagine when you stir fry it, when you put it in food, it can add a lot of flavor.
It will be more delicious than you think.
Yeah.
But I think our Hunan citizens will enjoy this.
We'll let the people in Hunan to judge it. How about that?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, but let me have a little bit of.
Yeah.
This is Rwandan tea as well.
This is Rwanda tea. Yeah, this is Rwanda tea.
Okay, so Rwandan
The
tea
taste is very good. You can try it.
This is the first time, dear ambassador, that African products that is not resources, that is processed, that has been brought into the Chinese market. Help us understand what kind of efforts, what kind of investment has been put in there to help Rwandan farmers make more money out of their produce instead of just raw chili, but to help them make more profit, have more value in their trade with China.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very important question to ask ourselves. Now that we have this big market, what is needed is now enough investment to make sure that we produce more to be able to supply the Chinese market. But even as we speak now, we have already seen a lot of profits to the farmers. Because currently, I should say that the buying price is at about $1.5 per kilogram of dry chili. And in the Chinese market, the farmers are being offered $2.5 to close to $3 per kilogram. So you can see already the prices that are offered to our farmers are very good. And this has triggered the interest from different farmers to enter into chili production.
How about transportation? Because, we know at this moment international trade or international people-to-people exchanges have been greatly disrupted by the pandemic. How about goods trade?
Yes, we indeed, COVID-19 has disrupted global supply chains. Rwanda is blessed to have worked with China to promote e-commerce. whereby Rwandan products, coffee, chili, are being sold on Chinese electronic platforms. So that is one way of dealing with the issues of transportation of goods, even though we still have to transport chili through sea and air transport. But again, electronic platforms are becoming so critical, especially during this time when COVID-19 has disrupted global supply chains.
Sure. Has the first batch of Rwandan chili arrived in China?
Absolutely. We actually signed the protocol to bring chili to China in March. And immediately after that, the suppliers started mobilizing. And in July, we received the first consignment, and a number of containers are on their way to the Chinese market.
Great, great. We're really looking forward to that. So, Alain, you have been here since 2018.
Yeah.
You must not be able to go back to your home for a couple of years now. How does it feel?
For me, I think I don't feel bad, but I'm fine here because China, as you say, is a good country and also is a developing country. And the government is trying to give us the safety we must have in this kind of pandemic, and also the good measures for everyone, for every citizen of this country to have a good health in this period. I think I feel good. I feel at home here in China.
Ambassador, dear Ambassador, let me come back to you. This question is also very important for many Chinese investors who are looking to further invest in Africa, especially in Rwanda. How about the investment environment in the country?
Thank you very much, Liu. That's a very good question. You know, we're talking about the Chinese government facilitating, creating very good environment, making it easier for African products to get their way in the Chinese market. But there's one important aspect you have to critically look at, investment on the supply side. To invest in Africa so that you generate capabilities to be able to add value and export more products to the Chinese market and other markets. But for this to happen, it's very, very important that African governments undertake very comprehensive reforms in their business environment to be able to attract investments. So Rwanda has taken the lead, as you know, under the World Bank ease of doing business ranking. Rwanda is ranked number 2 on the African continent, only after Mauritius. It's ranked number 1 in East Africa. And when you talk about ease of doing business, that means the government has undertaken extensive, comprehensive reforms to make it easier for any investor, including Chinese investors, to come and invest. That means, for instance, if you want to register business in Rwanda, you do it only in 6 hours. If you want to register property, it takes a few days for you to do it. And so many other red tapes that you find in so many different economies, Rwanda has really done very well. There are other factors that are very important for investors: safety for their families, for the employees, and for the investment. Rwanda is one of the safest countries in the world, which is an important factor for any investor. But of course, there is an issue of the market that's very critical. When you think of investing in Rwanda, for instance, the first question that comes in your mind is a return on investment. The return on investment can be achieved if you are able to find a big market. Now, Rwanda is part of East Africa, which is more than 140 million people. It's part of COMESA, which is more than 400 million people. Now, very important, and last one, is the fact that the African continent in its history, for the first time, countries have come together to form one market. Now, look at this. Africa is close to 1.3 billion people, more or less the same market as China. So if you are a smart Chinese investor and you come and invest in Africa, you're actually eyeing 2 big markets. One market is China, 1.4 billion, and another market is Africa, which is 1.3 billion. And you know, by becoming one market as Africa through Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that means you invest in Rwanda and you are eyeing the larger market in Africa. And I'm arguing, and have been talking to some Chinese friends to say, there is a space there in Africa that is not occupied. And Chinese are Africans are very open to Chinese investors to come and invest in Africa, because now we have become one market, and all these conditions that made it difficult for investors to do business in Africa have been removed, and that's why Rwanda is ranked among the top. So 3 areas. 1, visit Rwanda. When you see behind me that brand, Visit Rwanda, is one area that we invite investors to come and look at, because it encompasses everything to do with the tourism, hotels, real estate, resorts, sporting activities and all that. And then the other area is Made in Rwanda. Made in Rwanda gives you the opportunity to come and invest in Rwanda and produce products in Rwanda, sell in Rwanda's market in the region and beyond. The last one is the Start with Rwanda, which is an opportunity for you to come and with a concept and prove it and work with us. We test risk with you, we support you with all the needed support for you to be able to scale up your business and begin to export. So Rwanda is ready, and I want to use this opportunity to really urge the Chinese business leaders to look at Rwanda as the first entry point for them to be able to tap the African market.
I'm sure a lot of potential investors will be interested. Coming back here to the Hunan table, Huang Cheng, you have been to Rwanda. What was your impression of the kind of will or the kind of perception of Chinese investment in Rwanda? Were people enthusiastic to have more development opportunities with the cooperation of Chinese investors?
Yes, and the Chinese businessmen in Rwanda, they are very satisfied with the support from the government. And they told me that the government is high efficiency and they are disciplined. That means, and also just they can, if they want to set up a company, and they just maybe in number one day, they can register in the government. Mm-hmm. So they said that comparing with the whole African country, maybe Rwanda is among the best. Mm-hmm. For the business friendly to the
but
people.
What are the potential cultural barriers, cultural language barriers when Chinese investors or Chinese travelers or Chinese journalists who go and work in Africa, did you experience some learning curve when you went there first?
Yes, of course. You know that I stayed in Africa for 6 years, and it's very totally different from before I entered Africa and after 6 years. I found Africa is colorful and incredible. That means that, and when you step into Africa, and you as if you were walking into an ancient civilization that disappeared forever at first. But most importantly is that the native people, and they maybe live slow, but they think smart.
Alain, what was your experience the other way around?
For me, before coming to China, I was somehow exposed to some Chinese culture through cinema. I used to watch Chinese Kung Fu. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I used to think that every Chinese, they know how to play Kung Fu. So meanwhile,
and it's not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case. Yeah. Meanwhile, I also got an opportunity to watch on TV, like some Olympic Games in Beijing 2008. At that time, I wish to come to visit China because I saw it's a good country. I have to experience this way.
Did you go through some ups and downs, like a learning experience so that you finally understand the Chinese people are very different, but also very close, very similar?
Yeah, of course. While I come here in China, I have studied more about Chinese culture and also Chinese language. And even I used to think that Chinese language is very, very difficult. But if you come here and you take your 1 year, it's enough for you to speak very fluent Chinese.
Yeah, you want to say something in Chinese?
Of course, you can say hi, 你好。我叫 Alain， 我现在在 Changsha， 我是留学生， 我说是公经贸易. So
Wow.
I can speak more than that. And
So you can go around with no problem communicating with the local
yeah,
people?
with no problem.
Yeah.
Let me even tell you some story.
Yeah.
I got opportunity to have some internship. I currently work in hotel as a waiter, but that hotel I speak fluent Chinese. If you want to serve, like you give someone good services, so you have to speak good Chinese. So this is the good experience I've had in China, and
Yeah.
which helped me to
Great.
to live here in China.
Great. Well, you have the opportunity because you already know this place. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you live here.
Yeah.
So, dear ambassador, in terms of the kind of cultural differences or similarities, what advice would you give to the millions of people who might be watching in Africa and wondering what China is or how difficult it might be to deal with Chinese business people or to, to do business with Chinese people? What would be your advice or suggestion?
Well, it's a very good question, and I would want to say that it's so exciting for me to be in China. You may want to know that I have served in so many different continents, different countries. I've met with different people, experienced different cultures. But I tell you, we have wonderful people. And there are similarities in our traditions and culture and how you treat strangers and visitors and guests, and the hospitality really that you get from the Chinese people is very unique. And you meet with the Chinese for business over lunch or dinner. That is time to enjoy. It's not about eating and going. You eat in the middle of your meal. You stand up. You go around. You talk to a person across the table, and you exchange ideas. That's where you actually do business around the meal or food with the friends and the business people you talked about. So I should say that my experience has been exciting, and and the perception that if you go to China, it's very difficult for you to communicate with people. Apparently, that's the perception. You have so many Chinese speaking other languages, and when you are here, you actually try to. I'm not like Alain, but I can order some food when I go to a restaurant. So it's really, I should say, my experience is wonderful. Is a good experience, and I want to say something, Liu. Because I came in China in 2019, that was my first time. Stereotypes are terrible things, are very dangerous. Because you have not been to China, what you see in the Western media is totally different from what you see when you come to China. This country has really been very, so advanced, is so developed. People have worked very hard to move from where this country was 40 years ago, and it's something that should be commended by anyone who comes to China, whether it is in the capital or whether it is other cities or rural areas. I want to express my appreciation for what the government of this country has done, the people of this country have done to change their lives. So when you come here is when you begin to tell the story, wow, like China has done extremely well. So I should say that my experience has been wonderful, has been exciting, and I still want to, if COVID is behind us, want to explore and go to many other parts of this country.
Thank you, Ambassador, for those generous comments and extremely positive. We want to show to the world how China really is, so that there is greater understanding. And I understand also in Chinese we say 患难见真情, meaning in times of difficulty, true friendship shines through. And I think that has been a very good example over the past few years, 1.5 years, especially because of the pandemic. So I want to find out a little bit more about what these two countries have been doing in terms of helping each other to fight the virus. Huang, what do you know about what kind of exchanges, what kind of help the two countries have been giving each other in those difficult times?
I know something, and at the very beginning of the pandemic, I was very ruled by African brothers and sisters. That at that time, China is in urgent need of masks. And almost all African countries are open and very positive to net the masks exported to China. And you know, there is a story.
So they did not restrict the export of masks.
Yeah, even the block is not enough, but
Yeah.
let us buy it.
Yeah.
And let us
Okay.
and let the masks export to China. You know, and especially the customers, they keep them very quickly.
Customs.
Yeah,
The
very
customs.
quickly.
Okay, they clear the goods.
Yeah,
very
they go
quickly.
very quickly,
Yeah.
And so that at the very beginning, China can get the necessary supply of the masks. But you know that in turn, when China is the situation under control,
Yeah.
China send the medical teams, and also send the masks and also vaccines to our African brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
I think, and we are really, a friend in need is a friend indeed. I think.
Let me get back to our ambassador. What kind of measures have been taken place to facilitate the collaboration between China and Rwanda, for instance, in fighting the pandemic?
Yeah, Rwanda has done extremely well in terms of containing the spread of the virus by more or less applying the same measures that China applies in terms of making sure that people protect themselves by wearing masks, cleaning their hands, social distancing, and applying other measures where necessary. For instance, if you have an outbreak in a particular area, they are put under lockdown, restricted movement, reducing hours for people to go out, and that has really, made Rwanda to be able to contain it, and to the point where now people are freely moving in the country, of course taking precautions. And Rwanda has been removed on the list that of the countries that are restricted from traveling to Europe and other parts of the world because of the fact that we have been able to contain the virus. So we have done that, and that's why we are seeing the number of tourists increasing, because they know when they come to Rwanda they are safe, and we make sure that their safety is ensured. So that is the situation as we speak now. In the past few months we have had another wave which we were able to contain, and we are happy to say that currently the situation is really better than what we had in the past few months. China was the first few days before we had registered cases on the continent. China was in shock, and many countries stood with China in terms of moral support, and where possible, some materials, I know some business leaders in Rwanda mobilized some masks and all that. But to a large extent, China really supported many African countries, including Rwanda. China was the first respondent in terms of providing PPEs for Rwanda in the first few days, where the government and everybody was in shock and confused, and without knowing what to do. And so China really supported us by providing those materials. Of course, subsequently the government was able to buy more from China. But as countries were trying to contain the spread of the virus, the scientists were, working day and night to come up with vaccine, and Chinese scientists were among the first in the world to come up with the vaccine. And when the vaccine was ready, you may want to know that the Chinese government already donated thousands of vaccines to Rwanda, and we are very appreciative of that. Of course, in our cooperation we have Chinese medical teams that are on the ground, and they helped supported the Rwandan teams to deal with the pandemic.
Well, we're really happy to see that there has been so many measures, so many cooperation going on to help countries fight the virus together. So that's great news. Finally, dear Ambassador, this year we also mark the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations. Actually, it falls sometime in November, I understand. It's coming up. So what are your expectations in terms of bilateral ties, including economic and trade ties?
Thank you very much. Indeed, this year we're celebrating 50 years of our bilateral cooperation with China. And we have enjoyed decades of warm and friendly bilateral cooperation, reflected in many different areas, in trade, in investment, in education, in health, and many other sectors. During the opening ceremony of China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo, our president was among the speakers, the three presidents who spoke, the president of Rwanda, Senegal, and Algeria. And in his statement, he actually did say that our intention, Rwanda's intention, is to deepen our friendship even further in the coming half-century of cooperation, which means building on the milestones of our bilateral cooperation in the last 50 years. We will be thinking forward, going forward, what do we do together? How do we continue to work with China? And China is already really in the high gears in terms of working with Africa, bilaterally, but also through the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, whereby China is really supporting mainly the African continent to bridge the infrastructure gap. And of course, Rwanda, we have a number of projects supported through that framework, but also through Belt and Road Initiative. We are looking at other important sectors like education, health, agricultural transformation, technology, and so on and so forth. So we have a number of areas that we want to focus on so that we are able to build on the milestones and the achievements we have had and going forward to be able to achieve more in our partnership. So on 12th of November, we'll be coming together with our Chinese friends to celebrate. And as we celebrate, we'll also think of how we continue to build a very positive and prosperous future for our common interest.
Thank you so much, dear Ambassador, for those kind words of hope and great expectations. I'm sure a lot more will happen, and I'm sure the people here will continue to enjoy all the products that you have promoted, including, first and foremost, the chilies. And once again, let's wish all the very best for the chilies. I'm sure the people here in Hunan will love it. Once again, thank you so much, dear Ambassador. Thank you for your time and your insights. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope to see you in Beijing. When you come visit our embassy, we have coffee and talk more about Rwanda.
Thank you so much. I'll see you back in Beijing in the near future. That is it for this Tea Time with an Ambassador, hosted by me, Liu Xin from CGTN, and my friend Alain from Rwanda, Huang from CMG. And many thanks for all of you who have been following us. I hope to see you next time at the same time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.